Hi everybody, it's Maureen. I had a couple of questions slash comments about this card that I made for the Impression, Obsession, and My Sweet Petunia, which is Misty, of course, blog hop. And if you read the description, you would see that these were butterfly die cuts, and I stamped them all with the same image from the Impression, Obsession tea bag cube number 12. And I think people were a little confused how I did that and then how I got them lined up this way, maybe. So anyway, I thought I'd show you exactly how I did it. So I have my mini Misty here because it's great on my desk, which has very, very little space because I'm a super messy crafter. So what I have here is I took out the foam insert because I'm using a cling mounted stamp. And this is a tea bag cube. It can come on a cube, a wooden cube, or you can get it cling mounted like this. And so of course I chose the cling mount so I could use it with my Misty. I've got a piece of scratch paper and I put some washi tape, taped it down to the inside of my mini Misty, and the magnets are really great and they hold pretty well, but I really, really want to be absolutely sure that my paper doesn't move, so I taped it down. And then over here I have my stamp already in place, ready to stamp. So what I'm going to do is just take my ink. I'm going to ink up my stamp. Make sure that's well inked. And then I'm going to stamp it onto my scratch paper, making sure I get a pretty good impression. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to see exactly what you're going to be stamping. So that's my image, and let me zoom in a little bit on this. There we go. That's my image. And then what I have here is I use the same butterfly die cut, which is from Paper Tray Ink, and then I have the negative space here, which I talked about in my blog post. So for now I'm going to take this negative space and I'm going to put it over the scratch paper image however I want it to stamp onto my butterfly. And you see I have a little bit of wiggle room. I can't put it really diagonally because you can see that the butterfly wings go outside. You see that little bit where it doesn't get stamped. And if you want to do that, that's actually fine. You can do it, you know, and I can move it around and try and get the best placement I want. But in this case, by the way, this is not the same image as this, just so you know, that's why it looks different. I just decided to use a different stamp. So for this one, I'm actually going to put it kind of straight on. And so what I'm doing is looking through the negative portion to see exactly what is going to be stamped on my die cut. And once I get that into a place that I like, I'm going to tape down my negative piece, and that's going to be my template for stamping my dies. So what I mean by template is now I'm going to take my die cut and I'm going to slip it right into that negative space, and of course it's going to fit exactly correctly because it was cut out of that. And then I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp, and now you want to make sure it's inked up really well because this is your for real stamping. But of course it's the Misty, so if you make a mistake and you don't ink it up all the way, of course you can stamp it over again because that's the beauty of the Misty. So I'm going to stamp that down, and it looks like I got it perfect, so let me get that up. And it might take a little fiddling to get your die cut out, but there you go. That is my stamp die cut, and it is exactly how I wanted it to stamp. I wanted that circle in the middle and then kind of the symmetrical look on either side of the butterfly. And so I'm going to put that one to the side. And I'm going to get my next die cut, and I'm going to stick it right in that negative space, and of course it's going to fit perfectly because that's my template. And actually it's not fitting quite right. There we go. My thing was a little off. Anyway, so let me ink up my stamp again, and I can stamp that down. And once again I get the perfect image, and it's going to be exactly the same as the first one I did. because I'm using this negative space as a guide so that every single time I place that particular butterfly die cut into this space, as long as I don't move anything, it's going to stamp exactly the same every single time. Okay, and then what I did was, and I just have a couple that I had left over from the other one here, and please excuse the fact that it's a different design, but I wanted to show you how I put them together. So I just got my ATG gun, and I knew from playing around with it beforehand that I wanted to overlap this edge with this edge. And you're going to play with your die cuts and see how they work well together. And what I did was I just put a tiny bit of my ATG adhesive on one edge of my butterfly. And then actually let me use this one because this is the matching one. And then I just overlapped it so that this part is kind of lined up and this part is lined up to make nice curves. And then I went and put adhesive on the next piece. And then of course I alternated the colors, so it's the same thing. You just want to overlap it until you get a really nice smooth curve. And then I went all the way around, and at the end they lined up almost perfectly, but not quite. And so I actually had to fiddle with it a little bit, but because I only put just a tiny bit of adhesive on, they were a little wiggly and I could move them and flatten the whole thing out and get it exactly how I wanted it. And then when I went to adhere it to my card, I put a lot of adhesive on the back so that it would stick down. And so that's basically how I did it. Oh, and of course before I stuck down the butterfly, I got this little sentiment and I used the MISTI to stamp it in both the purple and the green inks. And I don't know if you can see that. It's actually a very interesting mix and ends up matching with both colors. And I think it looks really neat. I think it came out interesting. And I got some really nice comments on my blog, so thank you so much everybody for leaving such great comments on my blog, and I hope this helps clear up a little bit how I did it since I did such a rush blog post. So if you have any more questions or comments, please leave them here on the video, or you can leave them on my blog, which is linked in the description. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.